The rent was $800 a month, which was already a miracle in a city where a studio apartment with peeling paint and a broken water heater went for $2,000. I should have known that meant something was wrong. I should have known that when the landlord, a heavy-set guy named James who smelled perpetually of stale menthols and floor wax, started avoiding my eyes while sliding the lease across the coffee table, it wasn't because he was busy. It was because he didn't want to think about what he was selling me. I signed anyway. I was 28, working a data entry job that was slowly turning my wrist to glass, and I was tired of sleeping on a mattress that smelled like other people's damp. The place was a converted garage out back, separated from the main house by a narrow gravel driveway. One wall shared a foundation with the main house. The other 3 walls opened onto a cracked concrete patio that backed up to a strip of woods. It was quiet. That was what I told myself. Quiet was good. Quiet meant I could finally start painting, fix my car, maybe actually meet people who didn't just know me through a spreadsheet. I moved in on a Tuesday in late September. By the 3rd night, I noticed the sounds. They weren't loud. That was the thing that would have you. They didn't rattle the window panes or vibrate the floorboards. They just were there. A low, rhythmic dragging, like a heavy canvas sack being pulled across concrete, followed by a wet metallic click. Then silence. Then it happened again, 5 minutes later, 10. Sometimes it'd go an hour. I'd lie there in the dark, staring at the water stain on the ceiling that looked like a broken map of Italy, and I'd just listen. I asked Gerald the first time. I met him going to check the mail. He was about 60, maybe 65, with a face like a crumpled paper bag and eyes that kept flicking toward the side yard. He wore flannel shirts in the summer and always looked like he was bracing for a punch. "Hey," I'd said, leaning against the fence. "Sorry to bother you. I'm just trying to figure out the trash day, but Thursdays," he'd cut in, voice rough like gravel in a tin can. "Front of the building, curbside. Don't leave it out past 6 p.m. "Right, thanks." I hesitated. "Hey, quick question. Do you hear that? The dragging, coming from your direction?" Gerald had gone very still. He'd turned his head slowly, like a dog catching a scent it didn't trust. "You too?" "Yeah, I just moved in, 3rd night. It's been going on since like Wednesday." He'd stared at me for a long moment, the kind of stare that makes the hair on your arm stand up. Then he'd exhaled through his nose. "Old pipes. House is built on a concrete slab. Pipes settle, makes noise." "Right," I'd said, though I wasn't buying it. "Pipes. Yep." He'd given a short nod and gone back inside, leaving me standing there with my half-full mug of coffee cooling in my hand. I didn't think much of it after that. Old houses groan, pipes rattle. You get used to it, I told myself that. I told myself it every time I lay there at 3 in the morning, waiting for the dragging to stop so I could fall asleep. I started timing it. Some nights it stopped by midnight. Other nights it kept going until dawn. I started leaving the TV on in the background. Then I started sleeping with earplugs. Then I stopped caring. We all do. That's how you know you're already halfway under. It was about 2 months in that I met the neighbor from down the street. His name was David, and he worked at a hardware store out on Route 9. We'd never actually met before that, but apparently we'd been neighbors for years. He showed up on a Saturday morning with a 6-pack of local lager and a plate of slightly burnt chocolate chip cookies. "Welcome to the neighborhood," he'd said, handing them over. "Or, you know, part of it." "Appreciate it," I said, taking the plate. "So, you know Gerald?" David's smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "Gerald? Yeah, he's a character, lives next door to the old place." "Why?" "Just heard him earlier. Sounds like he's dragging a safe across the floor or something. You ever talk to him?" David had set his boots down on the welcome mat and leaned against the doorframe. He'd crossed his arms. "How long have you been here, Mike?" A few months. Longer than Gerald." I'd frowned. "What does that mean?" David had looked past me, toward the main house. The blinds were drawn tight. "That place has been empty for 20 years, or close to it. Before Gerald moved in, it was just quiet. Too quiet. Landlord was gonna tear it down. Gerald outbid some guy off the coast, said he needed the space, said he didn't care if it was a dump." A cold feeling had started crawling up my spine, like a spider dropping down my shirt. But the sounds. David had just shrugged. Like I said, old pipes. Or maybe he just really likes dragging things around at 2 a.m. I don't know, man. I just know I didn't move here for the symphony. He'd patted my shoulder. Sleep well, yeah? I'd closed the door on him and stood there in the dim hallway, the chocolate chip cookies suddenly tasting like ash in my mouth. I went to the window. The side yard was dark, but I could see the faint orange glow of a streetlight bleeding through the crack in the garage door. And underneath it all, faint but unmistakable, came the sound. Drag. Click. Silence. I didn't sleep for 3 days after that. I started leaving notes, sliding them under his door, telling him it was getting to me, telling him I didn't mean to be intrusive, but could he please keep it down after 11? He never answered. Instead, I'd find the notes on the kitchen table the next morning, still sealed in their envelopes, perfectly aligned. By the 4th month, I was losing my mind. I knew I was. I'd catch myself staring at the shared wall, waiting for the familiar scrape, my heart hammering against my ribs like I was the one being hunted. I started calling in sick. I started ordering groceries on Amazon and telling them to leave it by the door. I stopped going to work. I just lay there, listening to the house breathe around me, waiting for the dragging to stop so I could finally close my eyes. Then, one night, it did. It just stopped. 1 second the sound was there, thick and wet and heavy, and then nothing, not even the crickets in the yard. The silence hit me like a physical blow. I lay there frozen, waiting for it to come back, waiting for the click, the drag, the silence. Nothing. I got up, I put on shoes, I walked outside in my underwear and a tank top, the November air biting at my skin, and I just stood in the driveway and laughed. It was a raw, jagged sound that scared even me. I went back inside, locked the door, and packed a bag. I checked into a Motel 6 off the interstate, slept for 14 hours straight. When I came back the next day, the house felt different, colder. The air was stale, like it hadn't been breathed in years. I called in my 2 weeks, told my boss I had family to take care of out of state. I didn't have family, I just needed out. It was around 2 a.m. that I heard it, not from the neighbor's house, from the wall. Drag. Click. I sat up in bed, my breath catching in my throat. I turned on the lamp, the light flickered, then settled into a sickly yellow. I got up and pressed my ear to the shared wall. The drywall was cold and damp. I could feel a faint vibration through my skull. Drag. Click. Okay, I whispered. Okay. I went to the garage, dug through a rusted toolbox and found a crowbar. I told myself it was for the shed. I told myself I was just checking the foundation. I told myself a lot of things as I crept toward the side door. The door was unlocked. I pushed it open. The hinge screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the thick, suffocating quiet of the night. I stepped into the kitchen. It was spotless. Not a crumb, not a speck of dust. I'd left it messy when I ran. I'd left my coffee mugs in the sink. My laptop was still charging on the counter. I walked down the hall. The dragging was louder now, closer. It wasn't coming from the neighbor's house anymore. It was coming from inside the walls. I found the source in the living room. One of the baseboards was loose. I knelt down and pried it off with my fingers. The wood splintered. Behind it was a dark gap, a crawl space, and from inside, I could hear it. Drag. Click. Then, a voice, muffled, distant, but unmistakable. Mike. I froze. My blood went to ice. I knew that voice. It was my own. I reached into my pocket for my phone. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped it twice. I fumbled with the flashlight app and shone it into the hole. The beam cut through the dust and cobwebs, catching the glint of glass, hundreds of it. Mirrors, but not mirrors. Heese tapes, cassette tapes, reel-to-reel spools, stacked floor to ceiling in the crawl space wrapped in plastic, labeled with masking tape and a black Sharpie. I reached in, my fingers brushed against a stack of VHS tapes. I pulled one free. The label was peeling, but the handwriting was legible. October 14th, 2004. I dropped it. It hit the floor with a dull thud. I grabbed another. March 3rd, 2005. November 19th, 2005. August 22nd, 2008. January 12th, 2012. May 4th, 2015. September 30th, 2018. Today. The flashlight slipped from my hand. It rolled across the floor, the beam spinning wildly before coming to rest against the far wall. The beam caught the edge of the kitchen table. And there it was, sitting perfectly still. A single cassette tape. The label was fresh, the ink was still wet. May 17th, 2024. My name was written on it. I heard the front door click shut behind me. I didn't turn around. I knew who it was. I could feel the presence in the doorway, blocking the light, radiating a calm that felt heavier than the dark. You really thought you could just walk away? Gerald's voice was tired, older than I'd ever heard him. You really thought 20 years of listening wouldn't catch up to you? What is this? I managed to choke out. What did you do to him? Gerald laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. It was the sound of something breaking. I didn't do anything, Mike. You know that. You've always known that. You just didn't want to remember. I finally turned around. Gerald wasn't alone. Standing behind him in the doorway was me. Not me, not quite. He was thinner, older, wearing the same clothes I'd packed that night, the ones I'd never used. His eyes were hollow. His smile was apologetic. Hey, Mike, the other me said. Rob Knight? I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. The dragging sound was louder now, coming from everywhere. The walls, the floor, the ceiling. It was inside my head. You don't understand, I whispered. I left. I moved out. I packed my things. You left, the other me said gently, because I told you to. Because it's safer that way, for both of us. What are you talking about? I screamed. You're not real. I'm real. I live here. I've been here for months. Gerald stepped forward. He looked so tired, so incredibly tired. Mike, look at the calendar. I turned my head. The calendar on the wall. I'd torn the old pages off months ago, or had I? I didn't remember. I reached up and pulled. The entire wall came away in my hands. Drywall, plaster, lath. Behind it, a window. Beyond the window, the street lights, the trees, and the house I'd been living in for the past 2 years, the house with the peeling blue paint and the overgrown yard, the house that had been empty for 20 years, the house I'd moved into in 2004, the house I'd been renting, the house I'd been buying groceries for, the house I'd been running from. I looked down at my hands. They were wrinkled, spotted, shaking. I looked up at Gerald. He wasn't 65 anymore. He was 85. His hair was white. His hands were liver spotted. His eyes were clear. You kept the tapes going, I whispered. I tried to stop them, Gerald said softly. I really did. But you know how it is. You hear it once, you can't unhear it. And once you hear it, you need to keep it playing, or it plays you. The dragging sound was deafening now. A roar, a scream, a child's laughter. My name, over and over, in a voice that sounded like mine, but younger, desperate. I didn't know, I sobbed. I didn't remember. You will, the other me said, stepping into the room. He knelt down and placed a hand on my shoulder. His touch was warm, real. That's the deal, Mike. You keep the loop going. You keep the sound going. And one day, someone else will move in, and they'll hear it, and they'll ask questions, and you'll get to tell them about the pipes. I tried to stand. My knees gave out. I hit the floor hard. The tape player in my head was wound up tight. I could feel the needle dropping. Please, I begged. I don't want to forget again. Gerald just watched me. His expression was unreadable. You won't forget this time, he said. You never do. The record started spinning, and I finally stopped fighting the sound.